Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a spicy donation deck called the Unplayable Chunderbucket Pile. And you're probably going to see why. So we are essentially a Piper deck. So Elvish Piper was like the original one, I think. But what we're doing here is we've got Howlpack Piper, which does a similar thing, and Monster Manual. The idea is we use these cards to put in one of our big monsters. But we also have an Arcane Artisan, so we can use this to make token copies of some of our big creatures. But this is all hidden within a stompy shell. So we're doing stompy things. We've got our Chalice of the Void. We've got a bunch of Soul Lands. We've got some Elvish Spirit Guides. We've got these Trinispheres. So we're using these things to kind of lock the game down, as well as Lorien Revealed in here to try and dig out our tropical islands, as well as being a draw spell later on. And we're just going to be using a different way of winning the game here. So just cheating into play some big creatures. That's pretty much it. This is the exact list that our donor wanted us to play. I didn't really know where to start with this one, so I thought let's just play it as is and see how we go. Sideboard wise, we've got our Force of Wills in the board. I'm not sure we have enough blue cards to play Force of Will necessarily. We've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, plus 4, 5, 6, 7 if we're boarding them in. So I guess we'll have 19 when we board them in. That's okay. And then we have some Urza Saga in the sideboard if we need to pivot into a different plan. And we got some chokes. So this is very much an example of, well, as the donor said, of seeing how much you can carry weird stuff just with a stompy, prisony base. So with our Chrome Moxes and things, powering out Chalices and Trinispheres. Is that good enough to allow us to play something a bit silly and a bit fun? I don't know, but I'm going to give it a go. And this is going to be more of a fun one. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's nice to take a little break from testing for European Legacy Masters to play something a little bit out there. So let's see how we fare. If you would like a donation deck on the channel, please get in touch with me via the Discord or drop me a comment below and I can sort it out for you. And remember to like and subscribe and let's play some Monster Manual, I guess. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright. Chalice is kind of awkward. We can't really make it turn 1. I think we want to mulligan to some action. This hand's probably not going to get us there. What does this hand do? We have 2 mana and a Chancellor trigger for more prisony elements. If we find a mana source, we get to put an Arcane Artisan into play. Probably keepable. I think probably pitch. We need the blue to put into here, so probably getting rid of either the Howlpack Piper or the Monster Manual. I think the Monster Manual is the weaker of those cards. Also doesn't imprint to Chrome Mox if that's the thing we ever want to do. Right, so we'll just play out this Misty Rainforest first, I guess. And we don't really need to play the Chrome Mox yet. We can imprint it. Next turn we've got a little bit more information about what cards we're going to want to imprint under it. Interesting, we're not just a deck that wants to imprint Chancellor, because our colours mean that we want to have green and blue available. So putting a Chancellor in there isn't really going to help. It's going to be colourless mana. But also, we kind of want the Chancellor to get into play. Interesting. Yep. So our opponent's playing a Mox Diamond, and they are paying for the Mox Diamond through the Chancellor. Not the highest impact of Chancellors there. It might have delayed like a Life from Alone by a turn, perhaps. A Baron Moor. Another Mox Diamond. Okay, so it might not even delay the Life from Alone here. Another Baron Moor. Okay, our opponent's on like an old school looking build here. Him to Turag. Okay, the Chrome Mox is gone. And our hand is now officially terrible. Alright. I think we're going to lose this game. Our opponent might be on some sort of Pox build. So we can draw a Soul Land to deploy the Artisan as well. Sure, have a look at our mess of cards here. Smallpox. Alright, I don't think we're winning this game, but our opponent's got a long time before they get to actually win the game. So maybe we can grind back in. They've just got 2 Mox Diamonds and nothing else going on, empty-handed. Ancient Tomb, that's a start. Means if we draw mana source, we can just play Arcane Artisan and we can still win this game. Such is the trials and tribulations of playing a Pox deck. You can strip your opponent down to nothing, but if you don't have a win condition, it doesn't really get you there. City of Traitors. I don't think we play out the city. I think we hold it in hand. So I need some sort of... I wonder what the win condition is going to be. Probably like Urza's Sagas. Is their main win con. Assassin's Trophy, you say? This helps us out slightly, I believe. Oh no, we don't have an island in our deck. That feels like an error. Okay. Doesn't help us cast these blue spells. Very unfortunate. Wooded Foothills, this does. So we'll play this out. Next turn we get to drop the Arcane Artisan. And then turn after we get to do Arcane Artisan things. Arcane Artisan for a bit was... had a bit of a moment in Show and Tell, a bit like how Vesuvian Drifter is kind of slotted into a similar spot, where it's kind of a different way to enable you to get a big creature into play. Life from the Loam, sure. So at present, they don't have a win condition. But they're going to start dredging towards as a Saga, most likely. Let's see what we draw here. A Trinisphere, that's not really where I want to be right now. Let's go and get ourselves a tropical island. Let's cast an Arcane Artisan. So next turn, we can put a Chancellor of the Annex into play, which is pretty big news. Now, if they wasteland us off of our tropical island, that's going to be a real problem. Okay, so cycling a Barrymore at the end step. This will probably let them dredge life from the loam. Yep, okay. No win condition there yet. Now just drawing an extra card. Averting Catacombs from our opponent, which they are cracking immediately. They have black off of it using the Urborg, but this is just another thing they get to return with their life from the loam. They probably have Bajuka Bog somewhere in their deck as well. Okay, so we've got some more cycling lands. Our opponent has 2 mystery cards in hand right now, I believe. Boseiju on our tropical island. I'm going to get another tropical island. So next turn they get to do that again, and we're in trouble. Our deck desperately wants an island in it, I think. Lorien Revealed. So let's make sure I know exactly what happens. So we draw a card, then exile a card from their hand. If a creature card is exiled this way, that player creates a token that's a copy of it. When it leaves the battlefield, exile all tokens. Okay. Here's hoping we find a creature, I guess. This doesn't actually just bring back from the graveyard. It has to come from our hand. So it's kind of an awkward situation we're in. I thought this was more like Felden, where you put a card into your graveyard, then where you reanimate stuff from your graveyard. But alright, we'll just get another 0-3. It doesn't do anything. Yikes. And we're going to lose our tropical island this turn, and we're not going to be able to cast any more blue spells. And our Lorien Revealed won't have any targets now, and we're not going to be able to cast it. This card is completely dead. I think our donor naming this deck Unplayable Chunderbucket might have been a little bit too on the money today. We can definitely do powerful things with our deck. We're ideally trying to reach like a 2-3 with this list would be a reasonable result. Life from a Loam. Getting back a win condition this time. Are they going to Boseiju us again? I imagine they will. Getting pretty close to game over right now. Right, and there's a Saga, as we suspected. And there goes the Boseiju. We search. We have no island in our deck, so Arcane Artisan is no longer a card that does anything unless we draw a Chrome Mox. And we can put the Lorien Revealed under it, but they can blow up Chrome Moxes as well. So, alright, we're just losing all of our permanents here. How are we supposed to win this game? I don't think we are. Let's see, answer that one. I think we'll just scoop this one up. Our opponent has a win condition now. They will be able to get there in the end. We're not going to be able to do any spells. So, what do we want here? I like Force of Negation for hitting the life from the loam. I don't really like the other stuff that much. Urza Saga is fine. It's probably the best card in our 75. So let's try and have that in. Do we want a Shadowspear to go with it? I'm not convinced. On the play, we can maybe make an early Trinisphere, and that would be quite useful. I'm not convinced we want these Lorien Revealeds. I think I'd rather have 2 more lands. The Chalice is okay-ish here. I don't think we can really trim much else in this deck. I think we just have to run it like this. Yeah, I think having 2 more lands, like our deck doesn't have a lot of land in it, does it? So I think just putting these 2 as a Saga is going to be better than having these Lorien Revealeds. Let's submit. We do have the 4 Chrome Mox, which do help for land, and obviously once upon a time can dig into Spirit Guides. We have Chancellor of the Tangle as well, if you're unfamiliar with this one. This is just a big monster we're going to put in that also can accelerate our turn 1 plays. Okay, we have a Chalice that we can put on 1, which will stop Thoughtseize and stuff from hitting us. I think we keep this. Chalice into Arcane Artisan. Obviously we'll do Once Upon a Time first. Let's have a look. See what we're working with. Not a big fan of these, but I don't mind having double Chancellor down the line. So I'll take the Chancellor. Let's go for this Chalice. So I think our play is to put Chancellor into play on turn 3, and then turn 4 to put another Chancellor into play. And that should be pretty effective at slowing this game down enough for those chances to then win the game. Wasteland. Okay, that caused us issues. That was always going to be the case, I think. So our opponent got a Mox to follow up with. They do not. Right, we'll save this Wasteland if we'll land in our hand if we just play this Windswept Heath and pass. So basically just reset the game there, but we had a Chalice in play. Right, it's our opponent's turn. I don't mind drawing lands against this deck, so we definitely don't want to try and fetch to thin. Thoughtseize, this is just to clear the Chancellor trigger. This isn't a mistake from our opponent. They are using this to absorb the Chancellor Annex trigger. Which is also why they didn't play the Mox last turn. They just had a better spell to throw into the Chancellor trigger. Alright, can we draw a soul land? We cannot draw a soul land. We're going to play another land that can't be wastelanded and pass the turn. Any more fetch lands we draw are dead. We only have 3 fetchables in the whole deck. Verdant Catacombs. Right, so we get Tropical Island. Got a basic forest. Let's play Arcane Artisan and pass. If we get to untap, we're in an okay spot. We can absorb 1 wasteland because we've got this blue source in hand. But a smallpox will end us pretty quickly, I think. I'm not sure our deck can beat a smallpox if we haven't already gotten above that. And instead they're cracking their Verdant Catacombs. An Assassin's Trophy. We have no targets. Okay, so I don't know how we can win this game now. Feels like we don't have anything going on. Now we could find like a Piper and maybe do some Piper things. But our mana base in this deck is not here for a long time, that's for sure. We do have a Saga which can certainly grind away nicely. Get some creatures. A Wasteland. I imagine they go after one of our lands here. Yep. Chance of the Tangle. That's not really what we're looking for, is it? Let's go for a Once Upon a Time here. Another land that doesn't actually tap for anything. An Ancient Tomb, I guess. I guess we play this tapped. Yeah, we are not looking like we're going to give our opponent much of a fight here. Orcish Bowmasters, sure. Hymns of Turak. Yep, we're going to lose some cards here. Here's our Ancient Tomb. So we need to find land and a Piper, I think, or a Monster Manual. If we have the Monster Manual, we can use the ability of it to put on an adventure, and then it can't be discarded while we look for the last land to cast it. But let's see what we're doing here. Chalice of the Void. That's not really playable here, is it? There's a Saga. Our opponent has a win condition now. If we don't find anything on the next turn, I think we can probably just scoop this one up. Alright. There's the Bow Boys. Taking in 3. We need to find something here. If we find a land, I'll play for another turn. Alright. We found a land that doesn't actually fetch anything here. No, we'll just concede. Alright. Our deck feels truly terrible. But this is only 1 round. We do have some powerful stuff we can do. And I'm determined to get a win with this. So let's go to round 2. Okay, turn 2 Artisan. I guess that's the thing our deck's supposed to do. So we'll keep this. We can't really get wastelanded off it either. Because we can play out a fetch land. We're very cold to a Thoughtseize. But turn 3 Chancellor with a tiny bit of disruption in the form of the Chancellor trigger is probably okay here. Truth be told, we don't have that many impressive hands. We could try and mulligan it into hitting some Chalice and stuff, but the problem with that is Chalice doesn't really auto-win games like it used to once upon a time. If you play the Rainforest, they're going to think we're possibly some kind of show and tell type list. Or maybe blue-black Reanimator, and this is like our off-color fetch that we're playing. A Plateau. And they're probably going to pay for this. Feels like we're playing against some sort of initiative deck. Alright, so there's the Lotus Petal. I doubt we're going to see much more this turn. Another Petal. Makes sense. Oh wow, they're going to have a follow-up play as well. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's a pretty good one. It's going to give them a lot of treasures to kind of cancel out our Chancellor. Alright, let's go and get ourselves Tropical Island. Play out the Arcane Artisan. And pass. So next turn we can get a Chancellor into play. And then the turn after, who knows. Alright. So we can block here. Less to worry about Bowmasters. I think it's probably worth saving ourselves 2 damage in this matchup. I don't think this match is going to... They'll either be able to kill it all, or the 1 damage won't be relevant. So, we'll see. Touch of the Spirit. Yeah, so like I said, they'll just be able to kill it all straight away. So we saved ourselves some points of damage there. Okay. Oh, you have way too many fetch lands in our deck compared to fetchables. Right, here's our Arcane Artisan again. So they slowed us down by a turn. They only have 1 card in hand. They don't have a lot of mana to work with this turn either. So we might get to do our thing. We made the same block we made last time. I think our opponent has ways of dealing 1 damage to anything. They have Furies or nothing. Okay, we'll play out this land. I think we do it now for the sake of anything our opponent wants to play. Getting taxed immediately. Part of the problem with Arcane Artisan here is that if they just kill the Artisan, they loot to get rid of all of our guys as well. Alright. We've successfully made a large creature. We have the option of playing the other Artisan there, but it would cost us damage from the Ancient Tomb. And I don't really want to do that. I don't think having a second Artisan really matters. We're very unlikely to be able to put multiple things in, making them pay. Okay, we'll go to tax. We're doing it. We're doing the thing we came here to do. We'll do this now in case we find an Atraxa, because that does change what we want to do. I think we'll take 1 life. Oh wait, we don't have any fetchables left, do we? Whoops. Oh god, our mana base is so bad. Alright, let's do it this way. It's only... We paid 1 life for no reason there. And okay, we'll have a Chancellor of Tangle. They're going to copy their reflection of Kiki-Jiki, so they can get some treasures without losing a permanent to do so. We might as well block. We have a massive yacht. Problem is, they only need 1 single removal spell and then we lose the game. Because of how Arcane Artisan works. Favour the Mirror Breaker. That is not an answer. That's good. Hello to us. During Atraxa, I'll take that. Let's have a look at what Atraxa finds us here. A Trinisphere. We could play a Trinisphere. That's probably fine. We'll take a Trinisphere. We'll take another Chancellor. I guess we take this Misty Rainforest. It doesn't do anything. Get this Sorcery. I think we'll play out this Chrome Mox. What do we want to imprint here? Do you want green mana or do you want blue mana? I guess it's blue mana. We might be casting Seagate Restoration at some point. As wild as that is. Trinisphere. This should make our opponent's life more difficult. Play an Ancient 2 because we have it. And pass a turn. Oh, we attack first, obviously. And then we pass a turn. Alright. Opponent's on 4. A single removal spell does kill our entire board. But we have the ability to play the Chancellor. The green one, at least. If our opponent has a removal spell, we are in real trouble. But I do have to have it right now. They're definitely attacking with their goblins. This allows them to actually cast a spell this turn. We do at least get to gain 7 here, which can help if something goes wrong. So if they have a removal spell, we're kind of relying on a 6-7 Vigilance Reach guy to get the game done. Which is quite a large creature with relevant abilities. This has to be... So the Chancellor coming in here. Yep, so they're going to pay for this. This is then going to kill our Arcane Artisan, and we're going to lose all of our guys. What a shambles. City of Traitors, I would like to not take damage here, so let's cast this. Green, 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 2 and 2. Just your garden variety big guy. We can play a Seagate Restoration next turn if we want to. I don't think it's necessary. They can chump block for 2 turns. Well, they can chump block for loads of turns, right? Just keep making copies. But that's going to tie their mana up while we hopefully find something we can cast. Lorien Revealed. This draws 3 cards and doesn't cost us any life. That sounds better to me, doesn't it? Alright, we'll attack with our Vigilance guy. So they're going to copy their other reflection and then block with it. But let's choose up their mana every turn. The fact that we did all of our big thing and we're still kind of at even, more or less, here. We are ahead, but we don't have any route to making further headway into this game right now. I would like to draw some extra cards, please. Blue, blue, 2, and green. No, actually, we want to use the blue in case we draw one of our Piper effects. We can put that into play. Once Upon a Time. Do we fire that off now? Alright. So we found a Piper. We can't deploy the Piper yet. None of our fetch lands tap for any can go find us anything, so we just have to leave those in play. Our Ancient 2 would remove our city, and I don't want that to happen, so... Alright, so next turn we play the Piper. A turn after, we activate the Piper and put in a Chancellor, and that can win in 1 turn. Alright, our opponent's found a 3rd mana source, so they can now play spells if they have them. They got another... Touch the Spirit Realm? No. Okay, they're just going to be making some guys. They can actually make a lot of guys as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go in for the Piper here. It's annoying that we can't deploy the Spirit Guide without taking 2, which kind of invalidates the whole purpose of making it in the first place. So they can make 2, 4, 6. So they would have to lose one of their guys if they want to kill our Chancellor. And that would be okay with me. I think they're just going to make one enchant block, and then in the end step make a few more. And then they can start throwing them at us and getting some beatdown going. However, if we can just put this Chancellor in, that should do a good job at keeping us alive. So in our end step, our opponent's going to make 2 more tokens here. Yeah, because the one that comes in has haste and then can activate and target one of these other guys. Alright, so our opponent's got some damage they can throw at us if they want to. Considering how weak our opponent's hand was and how we got to do our thing, it's a little bit awkward, the situation we're in right now. If they don't make a creature, this guy will flip and can hopefully draw us into something really tasty. Because when this guy flips, you look at the top 6 cards of your library and reveal a creature card from it. So it can find you the thing to Piper in. It looks like it might be flipping as well. We don't get the option of doing this in response, do we? It's annoying. I thought we'd get to flip it. Okay, so we have an Atraxa here. Or do we want the Atraxa or do we want another Howlpack Piper? How do we cast 2 spells this turn is the next question to flip our guy. Seagate Restoration. It's not really the one, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get Howlpack Piper into play. That's 1 spell. I guess we'll find another Chancellor. Sure. And then if we cast this Elvish Spirit Guide, these will flip on the next turn. So we can go to attacks here. This one won't attack. We can only activate this as a sorcery is the problem. So they can make 2 guys and just block this. They can make 1, 2, 3, 4 guys and now kill this. If we attack with both, they can't kill both. So they put 1 under here and then they put more over there. Oh god, this is awful. We're in a horrible situation despite having all this stuff in play. We just can't break through these Reflection of Kiki-Jikis. Yuck. Yep, so they're going to make a bunch of guys. They almost have us dead here. We'll get rid of these fetch hands that don't have any fetchables. And it's our opponent's turn. Are we trading off our Spirit Guide here to save life? I think we are. Yuck. Seasoned Dungeoneer. That will kill us next turn. Jeez. They can't make loads of little guys now though, so they're going to have to put something under the bus. They can also copy their Seasoned Dungeoneer, which is incredibly bad news for us. The fact that we can't win this game despite doing all of our stuff is kind of an indictment of the unplayable Chunderbucket deck that we are playing. Yikes. So, Chalice of the Void, that doesn't help. What will help here? I genuinely don't think we have a route to victory. I don't think it's possible for us to win this game. Which is mad, isn't it? Let's put in a Chancellor. Put in another Chancellor. So our opponent spells are very hard to cast, so it doesn't matter. They just have a Seasoned Dungeoneer. So I can go into Forge here. Forge onto their Seasoned Dungeoneer that's unblocked. They're scrying. That's interesting. Why would you scry there? You have the win on board if you go into the Forge. That's weird. Like, casting spells is not going to be easy for them under double Chancellor. I don't understand our opponent's play there. They've given us a chance to possibly win this game. Like, they could have just gone into Forge and then trapped us next turn and won the game. I don't really know what they're playing at here. I was ready to... Maybe they're just giving us a chance because they feel sorry for us. Sure, I'll have a Howlpack Piper. I'll have another Howlpack Piper. These Howlpack Pipers are very unreliable because they can just get flipped where you don't get to put any creatures in and then you've just got a 4-4. Right, a stash from our opponent here. Sure. They're just going to attack us with 2 Seasoned Dungeoneers instead of just killing us in their upkeep. Yikes. Our deck feels very poor. So how are we supposed to win in this matchup? That's a good question. Chalice is not really going to help versus our opponent's deck, which also runs things like Chalices. So we can get some Force of Wills in. Trinisphere, I don't really like here either, so I guess we board out some Trinispheres. And I'll take this out and have another land because I want lands that do stuff in our deck. I don't think Lorien Revealed is particularly play. Oh, it's a blue card though, isn't it, for forces? Yeah, we have to keep this. I guess this is what we're at. What does our hand do here? We make a turn 2 Monster Manual, turn 3 Atraxa. That's probably acceptable. I think we put the Chancellor under the Chrome Mox here. Play this now in case of any distraction from our opponent, which they could have. Put the Chancellor in, at least we can have Atraxa plus Atraxa as a blue card for Force of Negation if something really horrible happens. But ideally we just want to get our Monster Manual into play and then start Monster Manualing. Chrome Mox. So our opponent's unlikely to play much this turn. It's paying for a Chrome Mox, assuming Spirit Guide, living its best life of making mana every turn. If we play the Howlpack Piper and our opponent doesn't play a spell, then... So the problem with the monster manual is, if we have to Force of Will blue card, we kind of need the monster manual to put a creature in, potentially. So I think we could play the Howlpack guy here. But this does get answered by removal. It's a tough choice. I think we just have to use... We have to just put the monster manual into play here. Just because this one doesn't get answered by removal. And just hope that we don't have to use this Force of Negation for anything. A Chrome Mox. 4th Eolingus. What is this? An Archon of Emeria. That's fine. So now we get to do this. Does this only sorcery speed? No. Okay, we can do that instant speed if we want to. Do we do it now? We probably do it now in case we have some spells we want to cast. And we'll play this green. Let's put in our friend and saviour, hopefully, Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Okay. There is one artifact. There are multiple lands. I think we'll take the Tropical Island though. There is Force of Negation. I think that will certainly help here. Do you want another Atraxa? I don't think we need another Atraxa, but maybe we will. So we take the Force of Negation and the follow-up Atraxa. So now do we want to play a Chrome Mox? We can play Chrome Mox, imprint, Howlpack Piper, deploy. We could just deploy the Howlpack Piper here, actually, couldn't we? We could play this. Well, no, we can't play two spells because of the Arcane Artisan here. So I think we just put the Elvish Spirit Guide underneath this for later. I don't think we're playing our land out here. Alright, so we have a Force of Negation, doesn't stop Solitude, but can stop touch with the Spirit Realm or Swords to Plowshares. An Arcane of Emeria, sure. We have another Atraxa to gas back up if they kill this one. And Urza's Saga, that's a card I like. Then we'll go and attack first. I suspect they just take 7 here. They have a Solitude. Okay. We've got another Atraxa, so this is A-okay with me. Let's put in a replacement. Draw a bunch more cards. So there is one artifact here. I would like this Force of Negation. I would like this Atraxa, I suppose. Or do we want a Chancellor here? Just jam opponent up. I think we just want another Atraxa. It's the best card, really, isn't it? So creature, artifact, instant. That's all we get. And then we tap this for mana. Play our Urza Saga, which comes in tapped. But I think it's worth doing. And do we want to play this Chrome Mox for the purposes of our Urza Saga tokens being bigger? I don't think so. The Howlpack Piper is probably going to be better. We also clicked the wrong force there. Sure, we have this. And I think we're going to do this on our opponent's turn, which means 2 mana for this. We're going to want this land into play for... yeah, so we have Chrome Mox here. We have a Force of Will. We imprint probably the Piper here. And we have Monster Manual plus Atraxa. Monster Manual into Atraxa plus Urza Saga activation plus Force of Will for whatever their one spell of the turn is. Seasoned Dungeoneer. We can race Seasoned Dungeoneer, but I think it's the scariest thing they have going, so let's say no to that. Alright, they're just scooping it up. Okay, so that worked somehow. We did see the plows. Does that encourage us to have chalices to stop plows? Possibly. But that might be the only one drop in their entire deck. Is it worth it trying to stop the plows? I don't think it is. I think we just run it back. Like, Atraxa getting into play is good. Like, if we have one of our lesser potent creatures, then sure. Alright, what does our hand do? Turn 3 Piper, or turn 1 Urza Saga, start cranking out tokens. So we have 3 mana on turn 1 potentially because of the Chancellor. Are we supposed to try and find something faster than this? I think so. I don't think a turn 3 Howling Piper activation is going to get us there. Okay, I like this one. I think we throw back the Piper here. We go all in on this monster manual. So the first spell they cast is going to get countered, basically. City of Traitors. Okay, if they play a low spell, they can pay. Blood Moon with 2 Chancellor triggers. Interesting choice there, opponent. They just missed that we had a Chancellor there. So they spent a Sim and Spirit Guide for that. They might just think that's the best play for what they're doing. I don't know what's in their hand. So it might not be a mistake at all. Slightly worried about Blood Moons. We're going to play this out. We can go and get a green source that doesn't get stopped by Blood Moon, if that's what they have. It does slow our curve down a little bit if they have Blood Moon. City of Traitors into this Plains. We're going to see a Seasoned Dungeoneer. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's going to cost us. Yeah, so they probably did that by me just to get it out of the way. That makes sense. Not sure how we win this game now. I think we're just going to lose to the Seasoned Engineer. Monster Manual. Let's activate one of these. Let's do the zoological studies. That costs us 2 life. But it might find us an Elvish Spirit Guide, which we kind of need. Howlpack Piper. I guess. That's not very good though. We were looking for an Elvish Spirit Guide so we could guarantee deploy this Monster Manual next turn. Also, one of our fetchable lands is now in the graveyard as well. I think it's going to be a big ask to try and win this game. Because none of our lands here will enter the battlefield untapped. Because if they play a Archon of Emeria. Looks like we've dodged the Archon of Emeria at least. But we're going to take 6 this turn. Yikes. That's worrying. So we are dead on their next turn because of trap. Nothing we play here matters. We are dead. Our deck is struggling. We did get a game though, so we're heading towards the right direction. So let's see if we can turn it into a match at some point. Let's go to round 3. Our hand can make a turn 2. We can make a turn 1 Trinisphere into turn 2 Artisan. That's probably pretty good. Although we would lose our City of Traitors to do that. So we're kind of looking for some more mana here. How worthwhile is it? I think we just want this land. A lot of decks will scoot to turn 1 Trinisphere. So I think we try it out. If our opponent's Force of Will deck is going to eat one. Yep. Seagate Restoration. Okay, our opponent's doing something unfair, I suspect. Seagate Restoration could be Mind's Desire deck. I quite like that. Basic Island. Sure. Howlpack Piper. That's not really the one we're looking for, is it? Let's try this Arcane Artisan out. We can't activate it for 2 turns, which might be too slow. And the only thing we're putting in is a Chancellor, which isn't great either. Ancient Tomb. A Chrome Mox. Imprinting Lorien Revealed. A Chrome Mox imprinting... I think we're looking at some sort of Mind's Desire list here. Atraxa. Just casting a Lorien Revealed. Sure. So next turn we can put in a Chancellor of Tangle, which isn't going to match up well against the sort of threats our opponent's shown us in the form of Atraxa. Our own Lorien Revealed. Okay. We will pass the turn. We can do this instant speed. Our opponent knows we've got a Chancellor. They might suspect we have something better. Drawn from Dreams. Sure. We don't really have any counter magic in our main deck. We just got these prison pieces. A show and tell, you say? I guess we are activating our Arcane Artisan here first. Monster Manual. Not very exciting. I guess we put in the Howlpack Piper here. And then from the show and tell we put in the Chancellor. I suspect they're going to have Omniscience and we're just going to lose. Mind's Desire for 2. That's not too bad. Seagate Restoration is pretty good. Lotus Petal and a Brainstorm. City of Traitors. The Lotus Petal. A Lorien Revealed. That's a pretty good one. Atraxa. Let's see what they reveal. And I think we can probably scoop after that. Okay, they got an Emrakul as well. Sure. Yuck. I don't think our prison pieces are actually that helpful here. I think we're looking at counter spells instead. So these come in. We have choke in our deck when we were playing Tropical Islands. Our opponent is like mono blue. Are we supposed to be playing these chokes? They don't look great to me since we have so few coloured mana sources in our deck. Yikes. They're a mono blue deck, right? If this isn't the place for choke, what is? I guess we probably lose some Once Upon a Times and maybe a Howlpack Piper. Seems a little bit on the slow side. Oh no, we keep the Howlpack Piper. That's the exact right number. Sure. Oh dear, oh dear. Every round, an uphill struggle. We have turn 1 Artisan. That takes off a Force of Will though. But it's what our deck does. So. Chrome Mox, imprint Spirit Guide. Play this Misty Rainforest. Sacrifice this. Has to be a trop. Cast this. Pitching our Summon Spirit Guide. Alright. So we could put an Atraxa into play next turn, or we could do nothing. The thrills and spills of what our deck can provide us. A Ponder. They did not shuffle their library, so we might be in for a Rude Awakening next turn. Okay. I think we hold up this Force of Will. Right, we're getting show and tell this turn. We do have a response. Our response is activating our Arcane Artisan, seeing what we find. And then we can... Okay, this has worked out quite well for us. Let's try and Force of Will that. Alright. We have a spell that we can cast. Oh my lord, we're going to get a win on the board. We still have to win game 3 if we can win this one, but our hand is looking pretty good right now. We didn't have anything to force through that show and tell. So then maybe just have another one. Blue, blue, 1. Say no to show and tell. They're cracking their petal for a ponder. It's a good sign for us. An island. Right, let's go attacks. Big almighty 6. I think we want this now just to stop any shenanigans our opponent might have. Chancellor decidedly good against omniscience, it turns out. Alright, we got a win. Now what are we going to do? Do we want these chokes? Feels like we can't realistically play choke in our deck. I just think our entire mana base is an error. I don't think we can play chokes, but we've got them in our deck, so maybe it will come up nicely for us. I don't know. We could play the Chalice here instead of the chokes to deal with all their cantrips. Is that better than choke? It's a mono blue deck, and we're talking about whether or not we want choke. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Do we want chalices to stop things? I don't think so. I think we just need the chokes. Yuck. What does this hand do? We go turn 1, Trop, Mox, Chancellor, put in Artisan, turn 2, Atraxa. Turn 2 Atraxa is probably good. Seagate Reborn into Ponder. So they definitely have a bunch of lands that don't care about choke as well as all their islands. So let's get our mana and play a Chrome Mox. We'll imprint one of our chokes. We will play our land. We will cast our little friend. Right, next turn we get an Atraxa which can dig us out some counter spells. Oh my god, we're going to get there. I think in case we find Chancellor that we might want to put in right now, we will activate this. Sure. To stop our opponent from casting Show and Tell next turn. Then we can put in the Atraxa the turn after. Oh my god, we got a match! Yes, we got a match! I was starting to think we were going to go 0-5, but we've dodged the 0-5, so that's the first part of the challenge complete. 2-3 was what I was saying would be a good result for this deck, so let's see if we can get that. Let's go to round 4. Alright, our opening hand is turn 1 Chalice into cycling for a Lorien Revealed to try and get some more mana. We just kind of need a payoff. We have loads of guys in hand. Is this a keeper? I think we can do better. I think we keep this one. The monster manuals can find us some things. I think we probably have to ship one of our Wooded Foothills here. City of Traitors on turn 1 for Chalices. Not the play I wanted to make, but I think it's okay here. If we find any sort of fast mana like... Well, we don't even have that much fast mana, really, do we? We got Chrome Mox that we can't imprint monster manual onto. We have Spirit Guides would be the best draw here. Once Upon a Time. What a horrible timing for you. Let's play this out. Let's go Basic Forest. I think it's more mana efficient to do Monster Manual. But that's a bit of a giveaway of what we're doing. And this Once Upon a Time goes around the days. Right, we'll take this Elvish Spirit Guide. That gives us Monster Manual next turn. Another island. Is this going to be a mono blue deck? Perhaps some sort of Spiral Tide? Merchant Scroll. We're very much in the field of High Tide. So it could kill us next turn. Force of Will. Okay, so we're going to get the Force out of our opponent's hand, and hopefully we can draw a land soon. There is a land. Now we can play this slower and just play out the Seagate Restoration, and next turn play the City of Traitors and Monster Manual. But that's delaying a lot of turns against our combo opponent, so I think we are playing City of Traitors into Monster Manualing here. We don't even have any monsters yet. We're hoping that the adventure side of this can get us there. Sure. But I think we have to take the line that gives us the quickest way to win the game, potentially, if we draw well. Because our opponent is just sculpting up a storm over there. Literally, they're sculpting up Heart of Storm. Another Force of Will. Yuck. I do not think our Trinisphere is going to resolve. Let's get 2 more cards out of our opponent's hand here. They're using Merchant Scrolls to protect themselves rather than win the game. That's alright for us. Oh wow, we're just in with that, are we? Interesting. Makes High Tide a little bit awkward. You have to tap all their lands just to make a High Tide. And they don't get to counterspell the front half of Monster Manual if we find a monster. We did find a monster. Tap this. Let's play this. No, I would not like to pay 3 life. Oh yes, I would like to pay 3 life. There we go. Nearly messed it up. Okay. So we get an Atraxa into play next turn. Our opponent cannot do anything here because of the Trinisphere, so we know we're safe. I'm very surprised I didn't force a will the Trinisphere. We'll do the Trinisphere at instant speed. The Monster Manual instant speed here. Cunning Wish. Let's see what they find. Presumably some sort of bounce effect. If we did put in the Atraxa, filter out, what does that do? Is that the return all non-creature, non-land permanents that are in his hands? Okay, but we get to put an Atraxa in. It's a pretty good response to have. It's an instant though, so they can do that whenever they like. That's pretty nice. Let's put a creature card in. This does not bounce out creatures. Boom, Atraxa. Let's get some card drawing. Let's see what we find. Interesting. I would like another Chalice, I think. I would like the only instant here. I think an Ancient Tomb would be nice here. And do we want another Atraxa? I think so. So they can bounce our Chalice and our Trinisphere if they want to. And our Monster Manual. The reason I think about it here is because if we Monster Manual in this other Atraxa, we get a whole nother set of looks at ways that we can ruin their combo. Our opponent's having to get a cleanup here. A Flusterstorm. A Chancellor of the Annex is quite a handy one here, isn't it? We go to attacks. Bash for 7. 7 to 12. So we have lethal with our Chancellor here. I suspect that our opponent would filter out in response to our Monster Manual if we did it another time. All your spells cost 1 more. So that's the first high tide countered right away. Ponder. Sure. We also have lethal damage. Exact Seas, in fact. So maybe we get a second. Well, it's early days. This is only game 1, but I'm liking our spot here. And I think we've got some reasonable tools for the matchup. Okay. This has got to be a choke matchup. But I think our prison pieces are better than counter spells here. So I just think we want 3 chokes in here. Which means you probably don't want these Lorien Revealeds. Seem less than ideal. Chancellor, very good here. Atraxa, obviously very good. Is it Howlpack Piper or Monster Manual or the Artisan? The Artisan's a 3-mana one, so I think we do have to keep that one. Maybe it's the Piper, because the Monster Manual can find stuff as well. Sure. Let's try like this. So Chalice of the Void stops High Tide from being cast. Trinisphere stops a whole bunch of stuff. Chancellor acts as a counter spell for High Tide, sort of, because the first High Tide doesn't do anything. Because their spells cost 1 more anyway. It's not quite like that because, you know, they're casting bigger spells. So making a 3-mana spell cost 4 is very different to making 1-mana spells cost 2. But it does a good job at boxing them in. Our opening hand has a turn 1 Trinisphere into turn 2 Howlpack Piper into turn 3 Chancellor of the Tangle. That seems like a reasonable curve. Let's reveal this Chancellor. We could play turn 1 Howlpack Piper if we wanted to instead. But I think the Trinisphere is going to be the stronger play. Let's play the Tomb. We can't really go off on turn 2, so maybe we could just try out the Howlpack Alpha now. Is that greedy? We're definitely playing this Chrome Mox and printing a Spirit Guide. I think we do cast this now. This can't be countered. So we're not really paving the way for the Monster Manual or the Trinisphere here. But our opponent shouldn't be able to combo with only 2 lands. Due to the nature of how High Tide works, it needs 3 lands in play to combo. We have our guy. Excuse me. This also opens up lines for finding Chancellor of the Annex by playing this guy out on turn 1. But of all the 4-drops in Legacy you can play on turn 1, Howlpack Alpha is pretty low down the list in a world of Chaos of Chaos Adventure and Seasoned Engineer. But maybe we can get our 6-7 into play soon. If we find a land, we can do Howlpack Piper. Alright, so we just get to look at our cards here because they don't cast any spells. Sure, we have a Chancellor here. Our opponent doesn't really want to cast multiple spells. Once upon a time, not helpful. I think we jam ourselves a Trinisphere here. How do you feel about Trinisphere, opponent? They feel like Force of Willing it. Attack for 4. If our opponent has a turn where they cast multiple spells, we get to flip our guy back. But if they cast lots of spells, they could just win the game. So right, no spells from our opponent there. An Ancient Tomb. What does that do for us? 2, 4, 5, 6 mana. This costs 7 to do it all. So we can try a Monster Manual here. If it doesn't resolve, then we Once Upon a Time using our Spirit Guide. Oh, we're in, are we? Let's put in our Chancellor. Alright, we got a pretty decent clock now. Still not lethal. But if our opponent cracks a fetch land, it's also still not lethal. It's 1 damage shy. If they have that and another fetch land, then it will be lethal next turn if they crack them all. But they're only going to crack them all if they have spells to play, and if they have spells to play, we're probably in trouble. I've definitely got some thoughts about this deck in the debrief at the end, though. That's for sure. Opponent's on 10. We unfortunately have 9 damage in play. What 2-mana spell are they looking at playing here? I think we ideally would like to draw a green source or an Atraxa or a Chancellor. Just have more taxing effects on it. Chalice is also fine. Trinisphere is also fine. We've got a lot of solid draws here if we get another turn. Feels like we've put a lot of stuff in our opponent's grills to have to... And if they do pass a turn here, we put them so they can't use any fetch lands, which might be the difference between the right mana that they need to win the game with. Right, no play from our opponents. At least not in their first main phase. Alright, so it's over to us. What are we going to find here? A Chalice of the Void. A lot of their best bounce spells are 2 mana. Opponent's on 1. Do we do Chalice for 1 here? I think so. This shuts off High Tide. Filter Out costs 4 mana and they can't have a fetch land for it. And that'll be their entire turn and we just monster manual in this other creature. Actually, we don't need to because we still have creatures in play because Filter Out is non-creatures. I think, fingers crossed, we might have got over the line here. Dress Down, you say? It's a pretty good one. No fetch lands, please. They do need to get through this Chalice as well. But they've given themselves a good chance this turn. Interestingly, they seem to be on the Cunning Wish build rather than the Fey of Wishes build. GG. Alright. 2 matches in the bag. Yeah, Monster Manual did some work here. Pretty happy we managed to get the 2 wins. So now we are basically at what I thought was the ceiling of wins for this deck. But we're going into one more round, so maybe we can get a 3-2 somehow with this deck. I'm going in expecting to lose the last round, so if we win, it's going to be great. Alright, let's go. We're on the play for the final round. Do we think Trinisphere and Chalice of the Void is going to get us there? I don't think so. Alright, how much mana do we have here? 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana on turn 1. Not quite enough mana. Never enough mana. So I think we go turn 1 Chalice, and then we have a turn 2 choice to make. What goes back here? It's probably the Howlpack Piper, and we're going to rely on the Monster Manual, which I think is a better card. We're going to get our basic forest here. So because of things like Prismatic Ending or whatever, it's unlikely to be able to Prismatic Ending our Chrome Mox on turn 1, but I don't think we're required to play out our Chrome Mox yet. We might get some better things we can put under it. If they counter this, especially so, in terms of having our Chrome Mox. Alright, so they had the Force of Will. We definitely don't want to play out a Chrome Mox into potential Prismatic Ending. Our opponent pitched a Murktide Regent. Delver of Secrets. Mishra's Bauble. Sure. Alright, so drawing card off the bauble they cracked. Another Monster Manual. We need to find a mana source here. Oh dear. Dismember. That's probably not going to be that relevant, but definitely means we're not going into the Howlpack side. It means our opponent's possibly running Grixis. Obviously anyone can run Dismember, so we're not going to run out of Monster Manual this way. I think the 3 life is a whole extra turn of the clock, so we're going to want to keep that. Yep, so they do have black mana. If we can find a mana source and deploy Monster Manual, that'd be great. Because if we get an Atraxa into play, we probably win the game. We have 2 bites of the cherry with our Monster Manual. I'd like a land that... If we get a soul land, I'd rather it be City of Traitors at this point. Lightning Bolt. Alright. Very aggressive. Our poor little face. Yeah, that makes sense. They're doing it so they can power on Murktide. And they've got 8 damage in play. Alright. Here goes nothing. Tropical Island into Monster Manual. And we're in. Okay, so we get to play Atraxa next turn. But if they've got Lightning Bolt, we do die this turn. Orcish Bowmasters also kills us. Delver of Secrets. Okay, we're still alive. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can't do anything else. We kind of just put in a creature at instant speed and try and block and gain ourselves 7 life. I think the surprise block is going to be more effective than anything else. Oh dear, what's this going to be? Try to think. Right, what is the Delver going to reveal? Did not reveal something. That could be an Orcish Bowmasters, which would kill us. In they come. Let's activate the Monster Manual. If we get this block off on this Murktide Regent, then I think we're favoured to win the game. Alright, 1 artifact here. Oh no, there's a Trinisphere as well. I don't really want the Trinisphere though. Let's take a Mox. Let's take a Chancellor. Let's take a Lorien Revealed. And I'll take a City of Traitors. Bowmasters. Dismember on our guy. So our guy's only gaining us 2, and we're taking 4, so we died to the Dismember that we did know about. Alright. Yeah, that's about the best we had to go there. Alright, I guess this is a choke matchup. I don't think we need these Lorien Revealed. And Arcane Artisan doesn't seem great here either, does it? Do we think they're boarding in? We could just board out of these Artisans and into some Urza Sagas. And then we could strip out these Once Upon a Times for this Saga and Shadowspear and try something like this. Because, as you probably guessed, I don't really think blue belongs in our deck. But we shall see. I'm going to have a fun rebuild of this after this round. Got some good ideas. Right, we're on the play. What does our hand do? Not a lot. I think we can do better. Turn 1 Trinisphere is pretty good. So how do we make the turn 1 Trinisphere? We say no Tropical Island? Sure. So we have turn 1 Saga, Chrome Mox, Spirit Guide. Playing as a Saga here. There's Chrome Mox, imprinting the Chancellor. We cast a Trinisphere. And then we just start doing Urza Saga stuff. If they have a Wasteland, then we kind of don't really go anywhere. Maybe we're just playing Elvish Spirit Guide to beat down. There's the Wasteland, sure. Well, our hand was pretty good. Our hand was a pretty serviceable way of playing the game. It did get undone, but... Alright. Can you beat the Elvish Spirit Guide? I don't think we want to play these things out. I think we're just going to go to tax here. Chalice of the Void. Alright. We'll cast Chalice of the Void. Chalice of the Void with a Trinisphere in play. Not the funnest spell to try and resolve a magic online, but we got there. Right, so our opponent gets to play their first spell this turn. They could just play a 3/3 Murktide, which might be good enough to win this game. But we've at least dented our opponent's life total a little bit, so if we can find a threat, we can do some good things with it. A Meltdown just to get rid of our Mox and Chalice. Sure. I'd love to draw a Choke this turn. We did not draw a Choke. It attacks. We can play 3 dots next turn if we need to with our City of Traitors, so we're going to play this and lose our City of Traitors. And we can fetch out our basic, thin our deck slightly, but also just have access to a non-wastelandable source. If we had drawn Choke that turn, I think we would have been able to win the game with the Elvish Spirit Guide. Alright, so they're going for a Murktide Regent here. They can play... They can't play a second one, actually. Alright, so on our upkeep, we'll crack this. Going to get ourselves a little forest. Monster Manual. So we could play the front side of this right now. And then next turn, we play the back side. I'm down for that. So we go Zoological Study. Let's get a creature. Oh no, no good creatures. Howlpack Piper is so bad. But it might flip and draw us more creatures, I guess. Yuck! So next turn we play the Monster Manual, which is going to cost us our City of Traitors. I was really hoping to find something a bit richer. Yep, so we might take 4 damage here. Yeah, our opponent might have a follow-up threat as well. Something that can throw the clock out. Like, they are still ahead of the clock right now. An Elvish Spirit Guide. Let's cast the Monster Manual. Actually, no, let's cast the Howlpack Piper here, because this is uncounterable. And we don't have to give up our City of Traitors for that. Feels like they've kept open mana here for paying for a Daze or a Force of Will. So I think playing the uncounterable one makes sense here. It's daytime. We're giving it a good go this game. If they don't play any spells, we do have the superior clock. A lightning bolt, sure. I guess that was what they were holding out for. Okay. Play out our trop. And we'll play out our Monster Manual. Here's the Monster Manual. They have a counter spell that we thought they had last turn. We don't have a choice but to play into it this turn. A Daze. Alright, I think this is our goose well and truly cooked. So we get to attack for 2. This puts our opponent to 6. They put us to 7. Then we put them to 4. Then they put us to 3. Then we put them to 2. Then they kill us. So we need to find an Elvish Spirit Guide or something that can attack. Elvish Spirit Guide is now our best draw. That's how bad shape we are. We just need a 3 mana 2/2. We did not find a 3 mana 2/2. We don't really have any solutions to our problem here. What is this? A Dismember, killing our guy, sure. So they just clock us for 2 turns, and I don't think we can get out of this one. We've only got 5 mana, so we can't do Monster Manual and activate it. Not that we had the cards to do that anyway. We've got a Howlpack, but then we die. Alright, so that was the end of the league. And I did say that 2-3 would be a good result for this Unplayable Chunderbucket, as it's called. And we did get the 2-3. So we hit the ceiling of our expectations with this deck. So I don't think the donor can be unhappy with how this performed, but we have a lot of things to say about this deck, so let's get right into it. First off, our deck should not be playing blue. It's just a thing that our deck should not be doing at all. These cards are... So Arcane Artisan is not a good card. Your opponent can just remove it quite easily. And in order to play this, we've got a really horrible mana base where we've got loads of fetches that don't always fetch lands. We only have 3 fetchables. And we don't have anything like a Yavimaya either, which would help a little bit. But we can have a much more stable mana base so that we're not just completely sort of screwed over by mana destruction, which is obviously a way that you can sometimes lose a game under your own Trinisphere. So if I wanted to play this deck again, I would cut all of these blue spells. I would then add some other effects to put creatures in. Now the problem is, of all the ways of cheating creatures into play in Legacy, this sort of monster manual stuff, well, Howlpack Piper especially, is terrible. Because you play it and it flips, then you never get to put your creature in. So it just doesn't work as a card. I think the card design on this is pretty awkward. I don't really think this is where you want to be in this sort of deck. Now there are other options. You could just play good old-fashioned Elvish Piper. Like the uncounterable side of this is nice, but the fact that you don't ever get to put creatures in half the time is, you know, we definitely had trouble by not being able to put creatures in with this. So I would want something else instead of this. If you're only running green creatures, you can put something like Norwood Priestess, but Elvish Piper is also fine. Monster Manual is just the best card we have for this, because the front half finds stuff, the back half puts creatures into play. It can do it instant speed. It's not a creature, so it doesn't get blown up. You could play something like Quicksilver Amulet, I think it's called, which is a 4-mana colourless one, but then it's 4 mana to activate. So it's quite steep on the costs. Also, if we were running mono green, we might be able to get away with running more City of Traitors. So we can have 8 soul lands and then just forests. And then our mana base would probably be quite solid then. We could also play a Turn Timber Symbiosis, because that's a thing that we could realistically cast in our deck, and it would find a creature quite often. But I'm not really sure that's where I want to be. Also, like the chokes here felt awkward sometimes. We didn't know if we wanted to cast them against a mono blue deck, and that's usually a sign that there's something wrong when you don't want to cast your choke against a blue deck all the time, because we have mana problems. But if we cut out all the blue stuff, we also free up a bunch of sideboard slots that we can do stuff with as well. I'm not sure we need Urza, Saga, Shadowspear. I think that was maybe just like a little thing that was thrown in at the end as just taking up some slots, because it's hard to take anything out of this deck when you're sideboarding necessarily, unless you just say, let's get rid of blue cards because they're bad. We could also play the Generous Ent, I think it's called, which is the green of the Lorien Revealed cycle. So it's a 6-mana guy. I think it has reach, which is pretty handy. And obviously it can cycle and find us lands, so we can run a little bit lighter on lands, but not to a detriment. That would be something I'd look at. I honestly think if you're trying to cheat creatures into play, like we're blue, but we're not playing show and tell. We're not playing the big scary things. And if the creatures we want to put into play are just, you know, green creatures for the most part, we could go down like the Norwood Priestess line and do stuff. But if you're in green, you could just run natural order and do natural order things, and that's probably going to be better. But if your heart is set on playing Monster Manual, then I would say this should be a mono green deck. I've played mono green Stompy before on the channel, and it's okay. There's some good stuff. You can run some reasonable mid-rangey creatures in it as well, which might be nice. I think you would probably want the Undermountain Adventurer in this deck, because it will let you ramp into playing bigger stuff as well, as just being something that if you play early will win you the game. So I think there's lots of ways of improving this deck, and I think all of it begins with removing these cards, which we knew were not going to be great going in, but they underperformed, even with the low expectations on them. I think my concerns about the mana base were accurate as well. And yeah, I think that's about it. I did have an idea of playing a sort of Elvish Piper style deck before that was going to be black-green. So the idea was you would play a Mana Dork on turn 1. Then turn 2, you would play Tyvar, the Jubilant Brawler. And then the next turn, you could play Norwood Priestess and be able to tap it immediately and put a creature into play because of Tyvar. And if you really wanted to, you could play Thandir Elixir, but I don't think that's good. I think just having Tyvar is enough. Now, Norwood Priestess is a 4-mana 1/1 that just says tap, put a green creature from your hand into play. The downside of it being, A, it's a 1/1, has to be a green creature that you put in, and also it has to happen it has to be on your turn before your attack step. But those are pretty fine. If you've got a Tyvar in play, you play it, it automatically goes off, and that's nice. And then Tyvar can untap it and you can go again. So I think that is a more interesting potential take on where you could go with this. Be like a green-black deck with Delighted Halflings to help power out your Tyvar, and also can help power out some of the other little guys. I think that's where I would probably look to go if I was trying to make this more competitive. But if you're set on the monster manualing, like we probably still have monster manual in that deck as well, maybe. But I think the blue in this deck is detrimental to winning the game. The games that, like, we did have games where we won because we had these forces, but that was mainly because we were just jamming loads of Atraxas in our opponent's face. And Atraxa's pretty good. If we had a bunch of prison elements, we could probably prison our opponent out as well. So yeah, I think that's where I am on this deck. I don't think this is particularly playable, but if you're going to like a little small event and you just want to have a bit of a laugh, then you can probably fix this up a little bit and have a good time. I think removing the blue is going to let you have a bad time less often, which is kind of what you want with this deck. All right, I think I'm done there. If you enjoyed this one and you would like a donation deck yourself, please get in touch via either the Discord in the description below, or you can leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. And, you know, I'm pretty open to playing all sorts. I'm playing this, so hit me up with your donations and let's see what we get. All right, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and goodbye.